Poshmark has changed the rules. They do not want us resellers to continuously delete and relist items on their platform. And they are restricting accounts who do not follow that new rule. They're calling this the excessive listing removal policy. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you exactly what that is, my own experience with the crackdown, but I'll also be sharing what I'm doing instead now to keep my listings fresh and the sales coming, not just on Poshmark, but on eBay and Depop as well. Before we get started, I want to make sure we're on the same page and talk about what relisting is and why it's important. To me, relisting means taking down an item from the selling platform, revising it to make it better, and then putting it back up as a brand new listing. A lot of people skip that middle part. They don't do anything to it and post it back up as a brand new listing as is. That is a huge problem in my opinion, but we'll talk more about that later on in the video. I started reselling about 8 years ago, and that is one of the first tips I learned, that you need to relist your older items, and I've been implementing it ever since. And anytime I make a video about Poshmark selling tips or any other platform, that is one of the main things I talk about, redoing your older listings. And that's because I know how important it is to update the things you post online. Even way back when I was selling Kindle books on Amazon, when I had a blog, and even here on YouTube, the gurus, the pros, they always preach how important it is to redo, revise, and update your content or whatever you're posting online, especially if it's not doing what you thought it should do. If your items aren't selling, if your stuff isn't getting as much engagement, that means that something is wrong. Sometimes the item may have just been a bad pick altogether, so maybe you should just get rid of it, redonate it, or something like that. But oftentimes, just going back and redoing your listings, making some changes will help it move and finally sell. And later, we'll also talk about the changes you can make to your listings, especially now, to avoid getting banned. So that right there is one of the main benefits of relisting items, to make it fresh, to help buyers find what they're looking for and help you make more sales. But also, when you list new items, they do show up in some pages on Poshmark. Right when you open up your account, at least on the Poshmark website, I'm not sure if it also does this on the app, it probably does, there is a section that says newly listed items for you. And also when someone searches something using the search bar, they do have a filter option where they can organize the search results by just in. So the items that were just posted brand new are going to be higher at the top. For all of those reasons, I always relisted items on Poshmark, and I always advised others to do the same. But now that Poshmark has introduced this new policy, things are changing, and I'm not relisting items anymore at all as of now. For those of you who haven't read the policy and don't know about it, I'm going to do a quick breakdown for you, but I will also leave a link so that you can read the complete article if you want all of the details. As I mentioned, this new rule is called the excessive listing removal policy, and basically it states that Poshmark does not want you to delete items in bulk from your site continuously. They want you to wait at least 60 days, and then if an item doesn't sell, they are encouraging you to make it better, to make some changes, and then to repost that item. They only want you to delete items if they are completely out of stock or if they sold for you on a different platform. In short, that's what the policy states, but I do know that a lot of people are having issues with it because Poshmark's automated system, the one that's in charge of enforcing this rule, is unjustly flagging accounts and putting restrictions on them with no reason. They are relisting items after 60 days. They aren't deleting items in bulk, yet they're still getting restrictions on their accounts. That part right there, I'm not going to harp too much on because that's not my experience with the policy, so I feel like I can't really talk about it firsthand. And in my opinion, all of that will eventually die down, just like all of the other uproars that happen every time there's a policy change. I feel like if there is a glitch in the system and Poshmark is losing sales or sellers because of it, it, they're going to fix it as soon as they can. So with all of that said, let's talk a little bit about why they decided to implement this rule. We will never really know for sure, so everything I'm about to say is just speculation. They are just possible reasons that I came up with, and I got all of this just from watching other resellers, reading stuff online, and just using my own discernment. The number one reason is probably because Poshmark was losing money, and the theory here is that Poshmark and the other reselling platforms have to pay to host our images and our listings and everything every time we post a new item. They have to pay to manage them and to index them for search too. On Poshmark, there are no listing fees, so they are losing money every time people repost items. They're gaining nothing from it. And there were a lot of resellers who were taking advantage of relisting, and they were taking down their entire closets and relisting all the items as brand new several times a month. Maybe all of that started to add up, and it just did not make sense to continue letting this happen. But some people don't think this was the case at all. They think the opposite is true, that Poshmark put this policy in place because they want to make more money. The people who think this way think that because Poshmark doesn't want us to relist our items and use that as a way to get more exposure on our listings, that way we can instead use their promote feature and we can pay Poshmark to promote our listings instead of doing it with relisting. I don't believe that though. I think that the real reason could be just a mix of the first thing and also of this next thing we're going to talk about, which is that constantly deleting and relisting items messes with the search results, and by default it messes with the buyer's experience. If a buyer saves a listing only to go back and it's completely deleted, that's not good. If a buyer goes to the newly listed sections on Poshmark and they see the same items day after day because resellers are taking down their whole closets and relisting them several times a week, that's not good either. Also, when you're searching for stuff on Google, sometimes Poshmark listings pop up, and when you click into it and it takes you to the Poshmark website and it says the item is no longer available, that's also not a good buying experience. If they see a Poshmark listing the next time, they're less likely to click on it on Google because they're going to think, oh, stuff is never available there. Whatever the reason is, whichever of those three, I think none of those make Poshmark the bad guy. I think they're just a business trying to make the best decisions they can in that moment. Maybe they're not decisions you or I would make, and the automated restrictions is not a pleasant thing to deal with for us sellers, but still, I don't think that the CEO or the top people at Poshmark who make the decisions are there in their office just trying to come up with ways to screw us resellers over like some people make it seem. So that's what relisting is. That's possibly why it's no longer allowed. Now I'm going to quickly tell you my experience with my account being restricted, and then we'll get into the tutorial part of the video so I can show you what I'm doing instead now on Poshmark, eBay, and Depop. First, I want to tell you where I stand with my business because I think that's very important context. I am not a huge reseller who has thousands of items and who makes 20 to 30 sales a day, or who's posting on 7 or 8 different platforms. Compared to other people, I'm a very small reseller. The most items I've ever had at once was maybe like 850, and that was when I was selling clothing and shoes. Now that I'm just selling shoes, I keep about 600 to 650 items in my closet at once. Sometimes I get extra good inventory and I sell more than usual, but for the most part, on an average week, I'm selling 5 to 7 items a day. And when it comes to the platforms, I sell on only 3, and that's always been my max since the beginning. I've never wanted to manage too many platforms. 3 is more than enough for me. So because of that, I'm not deleting tons of items every single day on Poshmark because they sold on other platforms like some other resellers are. I was, however, relisting every single day. That's always been part of my routine. I would always go to Poshmark, select my oldest listings, 3 to 5 of them I would do at a time. I would redo the whole listing, the title, description, change the price, sometimes even update the pictures and repost them using List Perfectly. Perfectly. And I do also use the flip automation tool to share my closet every day and send automatic offers all day long. I'm saying all of this because some people are speculating that if you're using bots or third-party software like List Perfectly or Flip, then you're more likely to get banned. I don't know if that's true or not, but I did just want to tell you the things I do and the things I use. As soon as I heard about the policy that it was coming, I stopped relisting altogether on Poshmark. I think the policy went into effect May 1st. I stopped relisting days before that. And I did that because I knew already since the very beginning that things were going to get messy. And I just wanted to give things time to settle down. I wanted the policy to go into effect and just see how it was affecting other sellers, to see how I wanted to go about doing things. But even though I was trying to be extra careful, my account still got banned or something. I don't know what it was in the end. I didn't get an email warning or an email telling me my account was restricted, but I could not post any new listings and I couldn't even make purchases on Poshmark. I just kept getting an error code. Since I didn't get an official email telling me my account was flagged for removing listings, I left it alone for like 2 days to see if it would fix itself. It never did, so I reached out to Poshmark to explain the situation. 24 hours later and I hadn't heard back from them, so I emailed them asking for an update. They said they would forward my email to another team who would be better able to help me. 3 hours after that, my account was completely fixed. So I really don't know what all that was about. It never happened to me before this policy got implemented, but that was like 2 weeks ago and it hasn't happened since. But I am still a little bit on edge about it. I don't want to mess with anything and I haven't been relisting items on Poshmark since. So now let's get into what I'm doing instead. First and foremost, I am still sharing my closet about 12 times a day using the flip automation tool. That same tool is still sending offers for me all day long. I am still dropping prices on my oldest Poshmark items at the end of every month, but I did also start participating in Poshmark's closet clear out sale. I used to do this years ago and then I stopped, but I'm doing it again now. And I do have videos on both of those things, the flip automation tool and how to use Poshmark's closet clear out sale. I'll leave both of those videos linked in the description. After doing all of that, if items still don't sell and they are very old items, then I will update the items instead of relisting them. Update and improve, to be specific. I will change around the title, the description, take new photos if necessary. If not, just edit them by making them brighter. I'll add new keywords if possible. And as of now, Depop and eBay don't have those relisting restrictions like Poshmark. So on those two platforms, I am still relisting my older items every day. And I actually do my updating on Poshmark and my relisting on the other two platforms together at the same time using List Perfectly. So let me show you how that works. To update my items and relist my items on the other two platforms at the same time, the first thing I do is come to eBay, come to the listing tab, and then I'll go here to the start date and make sure that my items are sorted from oldest to newest. Right now they're from newest to oldest. I'm just going to click it to switch the order. Now that the items are organized from oldest to newest, I'm going to scroll through here and just pick anywhere from 3 to 5 items that I want to relist that day. I like to focus on items that are in season. So right now I'm relisting all of my sandals, heels, and summer shoes from last year. So here I checked the 3 that I want to relist right now. Now I'm scrolling to the top, and here where it says actions, you will find the option to end listings. Go ahead and click on that and confirm. Now we're going to switch to the ended listings tab instead of active, and there you'll find the items you just deleted. I selected the 3 again, and this time we're going to click this button that says sell similar. Step 2 is to open these same listings but on List Perfectly this time. So I organize these tabs side by side, and I'm basically going to copy and paste each SKU number into List Perfectly. Click on the pencil icon and open it in a new tab. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other 2. Now I have these 3 listings open on List Perfectly. Step number 3 is basically just to make the changes, to revise and improve as much as we can each of these listings. Click on the pencil icon on the eBay page for the first listing. I'll make my changes first on List Perfectly, and then I'll go through and make the changes on eBay. The reason I make my edits on List Perfectly and eBay separately is because eBay has a lot of item specifics. When I relist right from eBay, it keeps all of those specifics filled, so I don't have to do all of that work all over again. Once I'm done with a listing, I click Save and Close here on List Perfectly. Done here on eBay, and then I move on to the next listing. I'm going to quickly make the updates to these next 2 listings, and then I'll show you what the next step is. Some ideas on the things you can change to make your listings better when you're doing these relistings. One thing you can do is brighten or edit your photos in some way to make them more clear. You definitely want to update keywords if there's new ones you can use. Also, double check the size, make sure it's correct in your listing and on the item specifics. Make sure you spelled the brand name right too. It's happened to me many times. I had the brand name spelled wrong, and maybe that was messing with how often it was shown to customers. And if your item can technically belong to several categories, now is the time to change it from what you had before. Maybe if you change it to a whole different category, it'll get more exposure. Also, you can drop the listing or the shipping price. I did all the updates to each of these 3 listings on eBay and on List Perfectly. So now I'm going to click Submit here on eBay, confirm by clicking Submit again, and click Done. That's going to bring us back to the page where we started, which is the unsold listings. I'm going to select the 3 unsold listings that I just relisted. I'm going to delete them from this page. I just like to keep things organized that way. I want my unsold listings to be only the ones that truly sold on other platforms, not the ones that I marked as unsold so that I can relist them. I hope all of that makes sense, but just go ahead and click delete again. And now we're going to switch back to the page that says active. And if we reorganize these listings back to how they were in the beginning, from new to old, we'll see our brand new listings right here. When you relist items on eBay, the item ID is going to change. Since I did not relist my items to eBay right from List Perfectly, I have to go back and update those item ID numbers now. That way, when an item sells on one platform, List Perfectly can locate it and delete that item for me on the other 2 platforms since it knows the item ID. If I don't update it, it's not going to be able to manage my items for me. I'm going to click on bulk edit here, and here where it says platforms, I'll click and update the item number for eBay, click close, and do the same for the other 2. Click on save, and now we're done with eBay. That part is completely done, and I can X out of this window. Now back on List Perfectly, I selected the 3 items I just relisted on eBay. I'm going to click this green share button, select Depop, and tell List Perfectly that you want to delist these items from Depop and then relist them again. List Perfectly opened up 3 new tabs for me, and all I have to do is go through, make sure that these listings are okay, filling any missing information, and post the new listings. And that is it for Depop. Since I relisted right from List Perfectly, the item ID numbers are updated. I don't have to do it manually like I did for eBay. The same 3 listings we were working on are still selected. So now I just gotta select Poshmark. But this time, instead of hitting delist and relist like I used to, I'm going to click on update. I want List Perfectly to update all listing details, so I'll leave that checked and click confirm. Now Poshmark is going to do the same thing. It's going to open up 3 new tabs for me, and all I have to do is go through and make sure that everything is good to go and publish these listings. And that right there completes the process. All 3 of my items are now relisted or updated on all of my platforms. It takes me about 10 minutes to do 3 listings, and I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't see the results. Every single time I relist items, they get a lot more attention on Depop and eBay, a lot more likers and watchers, and I'm still looking to see if updating items on Poshmark is worth it. So far, I have seen a couple of sales come from it, but I haven't been doing it long enough to know more precise results. I'll keep y'all updated on that. So that's pretty much what's been working for me. Basically, it's business as usual, except I'm using Closet Clear Out again, and instead of relisting, I'm updating my items to keep them fresh and up to date. And when an item sells on one platform, List Perfectly will automatically mark it as not for sale on Poshmark for me, and that seems to be working. I haven't gotten flagged or any email as of yet. If that changes, I'll let you know. In the end, I wasn't affected by this new policy in a major way, but I do want to say right here that I am sorry to anyone who was really affected. I know how soul crushing it can be, especially when you reach out to Poshmark and they don't give you clear answers. But hopefully you're seeing this as a pivotal moment, as a wake-up call to make some shifts in your business, whether that's to list on more platforms if you're not already, or just learn new brands and styles so that you can pick up better items with a better sell-through rate so that you don't have to rely on relisting as much. That's how I'm taking it, as yet another reminder of how important it is for us to diversify our income, to sell on more than one platform, and to save for a rainy day, because I'm sure that there are many more changes coming to these platforms in the next few years. It's been happening since I started reselling. Even here on YouTube, stuff changes all the time. Just a few years ago, my AdSense income got cut by like 70% out of nowhere and with no explanation, and it never fully recovered. These kind of changes happen to people all over, online, on all sorts of platforms, with all sorts of online businesses, and I'm sure it's going to continue happening with reselling. In the comments down below, let me know how Poshmark is going for you. Did you experience a restriction or a ban? Let's talk about it down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching today, and I'll see you in the next one.